What I'm going to talk about today is nothing new. You probably are not going to learn anything new, but it's good to remember, it's good to put together some thoughts about something that is important. And there's nothing more important in our activity here, in our organization, in our community, than the National Cooperator database. And I hope I can remind everybody why. So, if we think about dairy cattle breeding, the process of breeding cattle, we have several important steps. We need to have breeding objectives, we need to collect data, we need to put that data into a population database, and then we can do something else, research, genetic evaluation, selection. After we have a genetic evaluation, you can really select the animals, choose which strategies you're going to use, and monitoring performance of the herds, not only the genetics, but also the production and the performance. And then we can have very advanced herd management and long-term planning. But the population database is a fundament that we cannot live without. So, bit of history here. By the way, when you got in, you saw some posters there. We have tried to rescue some of the history of the CDCB in these past 10 years, especially honoring those that have been in our board during those years. So I invite you to take a look at that bit of history there too. But basically, cow records started very early, 1885. In 1905, the first milk recording service started. Then we got in 27, the DHIA association started to get organized. In 1935, people decided that we needed a unique animal ID. We could say it's still a struggle sometimes, but the concept still is old, at least. And the first evaluation came in 1936. And in this process, we have lots of organizations that are still around, but one organization that was really leading the way is USDA. And we will not be here today talking about what we're talking if USDA had not played this significant role in the history. So, artificial insemination cooperative started at more or less at the same time. And in 1950, people were tired to type in all these calculations in the calculators and decided, well, it's time for computers. So the first computers came to process the DHIA data. And then there's a big gap of 27 years when we have something really impact coming into scene, which is protein analysis in milk. And then we started with several things. Type traits started to be recorded in a linear scale. Then somatic cell count came. George Shook is among us for our honor. And he was a pioneer in making somatic cell counts understood, and we learned how to use this tool with him and other pioneer researchers. Calving traits, calving easy, fertility, so we start adding more and more things. And in 2013, there was a transition. This transition is what the 10 years is about. CDCB was already around for 20 years maybe, but in 2013 the industry decided that it was time to take responsibility over the data and over the services, but keep this fundamental partnership with USDA, in which USDA will stop worrying about the everyday services and focus only on this research that has been so fruitful and so important. So the health traits started to get evaluated in 18, and in 2020 we started with feed saved. So this change in 2013 is a result of a collaborative arrangement, which is the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding, that brought together 4 sectors: the dairy record providers, the record processing centers, the National Association of Animal Breeders, and the Purebred Dairy Cattle Association. And these sectors, they had some conflicts of interest. I mean, they were competing for some space in the market, and within their sectors, also they have competition. But they decided to put aside and say, we need something that is pre-competitive, that will help everybody to grow, everybody to advance in a common goal, which is to empower our dairy producers to make better dairy. So this arrangement also had 2 other partners, let's say. One is USDA, of course. They continue to have access to the data for the research that they do, and they continue to provide support to the program. I mean, we use all the legacy software that they prepared, that they used for over years. The database was created by USDA, so we get everyday interaction with their team to this day. And this transition was really smooth because of their selfless dedication to this cause. But we also have denominators and genotyping labs that were something that came up more or less at the same time, because we needed someone to offer the service to the farmers. Well, do you want to genotype your cow? We have a product, well, but someone has to go there and offer the service, collect the tissue, send to the lab, bring back the results. And this is a new type of business that started with genomics, and they are a very important part of this collaboration. So the purpose of CDCB, basically, steward of the National Cooperator database. So some people mention, oh, the CDCB database. CDCB doesn't own any data. CDCB only is the steward of the database on behalf of this collaboration. And then, of course, with that kind of data, it's possible to do state-of-the-art research and premier dairy genetic information services. So this is what CDCB is about, basically, keeping the database, allowing state-of-the-art research to be done at CDCB, Agile, at universities, making this data work for the producers, and of course offer the premier dairy genetic information services that USDA was doing before. So when you talk about pre-competitive collaboration, I found this quote, and it's quite interesting to bring that. It enables the private sector to effectively address systemic challenges. This is what we have here. We have a systemic challenge. We constantly need to collect data, constantly need to process that data, constantly need to advance in technology and offer the best for the good of the industry. And we do that by coordinating sustainability efforts, incorporating diverse perspectives, resources, expertise, and scaling impactful solutions. So this is not a simple thing. It requires, I hope you can read something. There's supposed to be a cow in the background. I cannot see here, but one of those cool things that you think when you're preparing a presentation. But this is really a delicate arrangement between companies that have their own goals, that have their own perspective, they have their own obligations, but they put aside those things the moment they sit in a room and try to work together. So they have to develop respect, open communication, have to share risks, you have to determine a clear governance, and so on and so forth. So this was not a so simple exercise. Well, what about the Cooperator database? So the National Cooperator database is basically a way to sustain state-of-the-art research, as I said, and develop data-driven processes. And why? Because we want to empower dairy producers to effectively and sustainably manage their businesses. And also by providing valuable insights and tools for informed decision-making. So this is what this database is about. What we want from a database at the national level. So one thing is it has to be representative. So include the diversity of the data that we can have. Has to have data quality. That's why we have a major effort from many of our members and from CDCB to constantly certify the data providers. So we also need to have a comprehensive data. So we need to it needs to cover a range of demographic and populational aspects. We cannot just have data from one region or from one specific type of herd or from one breed. We need to be inclusive, we need to be comprehensive. And also we need to have longitudinal data, so across time, so that we can watch the effects of those measures that we're making. So accessibility, we need to have this data being available for the research. If we have this data just for CDCB or just for USDA, we are limiting ourselves because we are not taking advantage of the expertise that is around in the universities and the research centers. And we need to make these people work for the good of the industry as well. And of course, there's ethical and legal compliance. We need to make sure that we respect what data owners want to when they provide data to the database. And of course, we're all about collaboration. That's what CDCB is about. Let's imagine our life or our industry without the database. So database makes possible several things. So for example, without the database that we put together all these herds from all these regions, we wouldn't have a real clear idea about the lactation curve, the behavior of our traits like fat, protein, somatic cells. Dr. Schupp wouldn't have been able to do all the work that he did without this cooperative database. Calving easy, fertility, you name it, whatever trait, we need to have a population database to be able to study that and get meaningful results. In terms of population genetics, we talk about genetic variability, irritability, genetic correlations, reliability. Well, there's no way to calculate those things without a database of this kind. Also, for evaluation, all these methods that we have been, well, some of us in the room that are young, like me, will not remember, but the others will remember contemporary comparison, BLUP, relationship matrix. Some people here don't remember progeny testing, imagine. But single step, whatever you name it, this is developed based on this database as well. And we can go on, selection tools, to develop selection indexes, mating systems, evaluation of crossbreds, and also genetic conditions. Now we have, compared to 15 years ago, well, 10 years ago, what we knew about these mutations that we can prevent now by running genetic tests and haplotype tests. Very little. Sorry. Got ahead of myself. And then genomics, the Bovine Genome Project. He had the opportunity to use this database to validate all the studies. Development of SNP chips was based on the database, so on and so forth. So we have to be very grateful that the dairy producers and all the associated industry decided, well, we need to have this centralized database so that we can take advantage and make this industry move ahead. So we need to acknowledge that. So today, it's just a small way to express. We have 96 million animals or with pedigrees, 8 million genotypes. We recently crossed that threshold. 105 million lactations, and you can read the rest of the table there. Of course, feed intake, we still have a small amount because this is very expensive, but we are advancing. We will hear a little bit more about that opportunity later on. So what we do with that, we focus on the genetic evaluation, all these traits that we provide, breeds, parentage verification. So all these services can be done because of the database. And this has helped us to be in the forefront of some of the technologies. So just some examples. CDCB is the only one that is certifying genomic nominators and genotyping labs. And we have already 19 nominators and 9 labs certified that are providing services to the industry. 1.2 million animals genotyped in 2022 only. So we are increasing the number of animals genotyped every year. The genomic relationships between genotyped cows and marketed bulls is made available so that all the industry can avoid matings that would increase in breeding in the population. We have also our SNP set that we use for evaluations, about 80,000 SNPs, which is different than most countries. And this is in constant monitoring, so we can add more relevant SNPs, so we can retire those that are not informative anymore. 53 chips, different chips from different companies, different countries, have been validated and are currently in use. And this work of validating chips is very important, not only for the industry because we can use the data, but also for those that are developing the chips, because they take advantage of the database to validate their assumptions. And so on and so forth. We can talk about chromosomal abnormalities. George Wiggins is here. He can give you the news about that. Only evaluation system using constructed DUMs. So we are trying to rescue those ancestors that we discover using genomics, but we cannot use that information without having a female that makes the link between the grandsire and the animal. So we have these constructed DUMs that are helping us to expand our pedigrees. Animal genomic evaluation of crossbreds has been a challenge, but we have been offering that for many years already. And of course, the feed saved evaluations. So challenges in future direction. I'm not going to talk too much about that because you're going to hear about some of these projects after me. I'm just saying that the data streams are in transformation. And we had a very interesting workshop in August in which we discussed this, the fact that we are now in a globalized situation in which the diversification of data collection and data types and data storage has been increasing dramatically over the years. We also see a lot of concentration on the industry, specialization also, and of course we see that there is a desire and a need for customization of services also. So all that creates a heterogeneity that we need to address. So we need to go after the data that will allow us to give the answers to the producers that are looking for all sorts of answers. So we see the modern herd today. It's not just about milking cows, selling milk, and maybe going to a show. I mean, there's a lot going on, and we have to provide them with what they need. So we are working together, all the sectors within the CDCB collaboration, to bring new types of data and to ensure that the fundamental data that we always had and need even in the future continues to flow into the system. So infrastructure, we have all these different data providers sending data to the National Cooperator database. We have the genetic evaluation system, and we distribute those evaluations to the industry. But before that, we need to have a quality control system that is done by QCS in the phenotypic data and CDCB at the genotypic data. The data ingestion system is a very complex system that has been developed over the past 30, 40 years, and also the distribution and publication system. So we have been modernizing the legacy with the Web Connect in the interface, and now we're working with IOTA on the data ingestion system. So we are trying to make the machinery ready for the challenges in the future. This one I will just fly through because we will have other things to talk about later. But this is just to say that we have several types of projects that we are working on already, and many of them need more communication because people don't know, so we sponsor research. We are also having research internally with our internal group of researchers and associated with USDA. We have some development also that is going on inside, and we have several ideas that we are considering for the future. So there's a lot going on, and it's all possible because of the collaboration that we have and the database that we have. So this workshop that we had identified 4 major priorities, which is to improve collaborative communication, data quality and integration, training and resources, and also technology and infrastructure. So the board of directors is working with the staff to get actions, concrete actions to advance in these 4 areas here. So by expanding our capacity, fostering innovation, strengthening partnerships, and diversifying our portfolio, also securing our data streams and quickly adapting to changes, improving communication and developing talents. This is what our challenges are at this moment after 10 years of growth and development. CDCB is positioned to lead the way and provide the data genetic tools required for the future success, but only if everyone in this room is part of the story.